Following the crypto market's growth after President Trump's election at the end of last year, we've recently experienced a major sell-off event in the first couple of months of 2025. And with that, investors are also realizing profits. If you're selling cryptocurrency to realize a gain, then you need to know what taxes are payable, how much tax you might need to pay, and ways to legally pay less tax, and we'll cover all three of these topics on this video. I know personally just how painful tax can be. You've been riding out the ups and downs in the market, you finally have gains that you want to realize, and then after all of that you get taxed. But it's important to understand the tax rules so you can try to mitigate and keep as much of your gains as possible. If you're new to this channel, I'm Matt. I've been a finance consultant for over 10 years. I now run my own company, and on this channel I talk all things personal finance. So let's start with what taxes typically apply. The first tax to consider is income tax. For example, if you receive tokens in exchange for employment, then income tax and national insurance tax applies. Income tax can also apply if you carry on a trade in crypto assets. So crypto staking and crypto mining can fall into this category. You can currently qualify for a £1,000 tax-free allowance for trading income, which means that you can earn £1,000 from these activities and be exempt from income tax and national insurance tax up to that threshold. The most common tax on gains from crypto assets is capital gains tax. This is due when you dispose of crypto assets, for example, selling crypto for cash, swapping one crypto for another, using crypto to pay for goods and services, or giving crypto to someone other than your spouse or civil partner. If any of these situations apply, then you need to calculate your gain or loss on disposal of your crypto assets. Let's go through an example. John purchased 5,000 XRP tokens at 50p per token, giving a total cost of £2,500. The market value at the time John sells is £2 per token, meaning a total sale value of £10,000. The sale and purchase incurs transaction fees of 0.1%. So to work out the amount of capital gains tax due, you take the total sale value of £10,000 minus the cost of purchasing the crypto assets at £2,500 minus the purchase and sale transaction fee costs, which when combined equals £12.50. This gives you a total gain of £7,487.50. Each person in the UK gets a £3,000 annual capital gains tax exemption. That means that John can deduct this from his total gains, giving a total taxable gain of £4,487.50. At the autumn budget last year, the Chancellor announced that capital gains tax rates on assets would increase from 10% to 18% for basic rate taxpayers and from 20% to 24% for higher rate taxpayers. So that means if John was a basic rate taxpayer, he would have to pay £807.75 of capital gains tax. And if he was a higher rate taxpayer, he would have to pay £1,077. Something to consider when you're doing your tax calculation is that there are going to be different scenarios for the cost basis to use based on how you bought and sold your crypto assets. For example, you'll have a different cost basis if you buy and sell the same cryptocurrency on the same day versus purchasing over multiple days and at different price points, which is where you calculate an average cost for a pool of assets. Depending on your situation, the HMRC website has guidance on what cost basis to use. So after covering how to calculate tax, what are the ways that you can save on tax? The first way is to maximise the £3,000 annual capital gains tax allowance that you have each personal tax year. For those thinking about selling crypto assets in the short term, one thing to consider if you haven't used up your capital gains tax allowance is selling a portion of assets to realise gains up to £3,000 prior to the 5th of April 2025, and then selling another portion of assets after the 6th of April to go against the £3,000 tax allowance in the next personal tax year. For example, if you had a £6,000 gain and you sold and realised all of that gain prior to the 5th of April, you'd have to pay £540 if you're a basic rate taxpayer and £720 if you're a higher rate taxpayer. Whereas if you sold and realised a gain of £3,000 prior to the 5th of April and a further £3,000 after the 6th of April, then no capital gains tax would be due, as it would be within your tax allowance for each personal tax year. The second way to reduce your tax is to utilise the spouse allowance. If you live with a spouse or civil partner, you can transfer assets on a no-win, no-gain basis. So you could transfer crypto assets to them that give rise to a £3,000 gain, and then when they receive the crypto assets tax-free, they could sell it and use all of their capital gains tax allowance. And you could do the same, so that combined you have £6,000 of gains sheltered from tax each tax year. The third way to reduce tax is to make sure that you claim all of the costs associated with your crypto transactions, such as fees for buying, selling and transferring crypto assets. By including this in your tax calculation, it helps to ensure that you're paying as little tax as possible on your asset gains. And the final point is capital losses. If you have crypto asset sales which were loss-making this year, you can offset them against gains that you've made. So if you sold and realised a loss of £2,000 on Bitcoin, but you realised a gain of £3,000 on XRP, then you can offset the Bitcoin loss against the XRP gain to reduce the amount of tax that you need to pay. So that wraps up 4 ways that you can reduce tax. If you've not done a self-assessment tax return before, you can see the details on the HMRC website, including how to register to file a tax return and also the dates by when it needs to be completed by. Taxation of crypto assets is complex, with the legislation constantly changing. It's worth speaking to a tax advisor to make sure that you're not overpaying on tax. This video is for educational purposes and not tax advice. If you found the video helpful, please do subscribe to my channel, give the video a like, and I'll see you on the next video.